Well, we began filming the movie, as you know, last year, right around this time. Actually, we were just getting here to Louisiana. We're actually in the edit session still, and we're actually about to start doing ADR sessions. We're going to bring that down here to Louisiana because, you know, most of the actors are here in Louisiana. So, you know, we're going to have to come down here to actually do some of those ADR sessions. We have a pretty good edit. We're doing some more scenic shots, you know, of Lake Charles. I'm not really satisfied with a lot of the scenery we got. It's such a beautiful city, so I want to show more of it. We got a lot of aerial stock footage, but now I just want everyday pedestrians, you know, living their life, go around to some of the local parks, you know, to the boardwalk, and just kind of get people, you know, in their day to day. So you still got an opportunity to be in the movie if you're not in the movie yet. 100% of the locations were here. Well, actually, 99% of the locations were here. We actually have one shot that's actually in LA, one establishing shot.
And what was that like for you, being able to go to the local spots and getting their support?
It was great, you know. At first, you know, when you going into someone's home, it's kind of like similar, you know, going to someone's business. You know, they're kind of skeptical at first, but when you show a lot of professionalism, when you do things, people tend to get, you know, comfortable with it. So after a while, you know, most of the businesses, you know, we're just talking about how great of an experience it was for them and when we're coming back. You know, everybody wants to know when we're coming back now. So it was a great experience.
For you being a local here, what was your greatest joy about the entire experience?
My greatest joy was probably seeing all of the children that was, you know, involved in it. We did some things with John Ayu, City Council President, has a T-ball league, and we went out to the park, and all the kids were out there, you know, playing baseball. We brought pizza and food for them, and that was a great experience. And we did some other little small bit parts that we added in the film after the script was already finalized and locked, and added some bit parts for some kids. So that was great. Another thing was just seeing the look in people's faces, you know, of seeing like, hey, we're actually doing a real movie, you know, and not somebody's, you know, pet project or something, but they really felt like that it was a real Hollywood production. And that was great to give people that experience. Because I remember my first time going on a real set, you know, actually in Hollywood, and it was just, it's kind of like going to Disneyland, Disney World.
Now, of course, we're here, 2013, and just as you're wrapping up all the editing process, you're seeing that there's this huge
Yes.
battle in Baton Rouge.
Yes.
How, even though that you're based in Los Angeles, how is it for you seeing that happen here in Louisiana?
Well, I really got to take it back to 2002 because a lot of people are under the thinking that I just started doing this, but I left Lake Charles a long time ago to pursue this career. And Louisiana is when, in 2002, I think 2004 is when they first started this tax credit. And, you know, in Hollywood, everybody was like, Louisiana, who's going to shoot movies in Louisiana? And you know, our culture, our people, our food, you know, our festivals, our hospitality, we win you over every time, you know. So to see how that escalated and it built and more productions were going to Louisiana, and then my friends started being like, hey, that's the guy from Louisiana, you know, talk to him about doing movies in Louisiana. And everybody there knew what my plan of action was, you know, for my filming in Louisiana. So to come down here, shoot a movie, be successful at it, and then to go back to LA and be able to show everybody what we did, you know, in Louisiana and get them all excited, and then have all of a sudden I get phone calls from people like, what's going on with Louisiana? And literally I was here, was I here? I think I was here when I found out about the tax credit, and I went and I read about it, and I knew instantly that was going to affect what a lot of productions were doing, because a lot of people don't understand that a lot of films are produced a few years before they actually come out for production. It's called pre-production. You know, you have to script the movie, you have to attach actors, directors, you know, to the movie, production crew. You got to do a lot of planning. So a lot of things are always in the works before you actually go into production. So we kind of need to have things solidified, you know, before we go, because a lot of people don't want to commit money, commit funds to projects that are kind of up in the air. A lot of people that are paid on movies are paid no matter if the movie gets made or not. So with these, you know, inflated production budgets, you have to, you know, have some security. So even the inkling of, you know, a change in something that's already been working for the system as it is, will send productions to other places. So it kind of made me fearful for a lot of the big production houses that they built in Baton Rouge, and a lot of the people who invested their funds into New Orleans. I would hate to see, these things dry up and go to some place like Georgia or Virginia or any one of the other states that are now looking into offering, similar type of tax credits. So it's a very scary situation right now.
Have you directly had any, I guess you can say,
effects from it?
Or no, not necessarily that. Going into Baton Rouge, though, and maybe lobbying or showing?
Yes, we have been in talks with Will French. He is a very intricate part in the whole tax credit process, and how a lot of producers and directors like myself are able to take tax credit and find investors that are looking, to buy tax credits that we can, then fund our films with. So he's very intricate in that process. Also within the state and the legislation, so he's actually lobbying, on our behalf and trying to explain to the legislature that this is a good benefit for the state and for filmmakers alike. So we have been in touch with some people who are intricate in that whole formulation of this process that we're going through right now.
And then, as you were about to say, how has this, if at all, affected you?
It didn't affect me any on the first film that we did, but that first film was kind of like the testing ground. We didn't want to go and do a $500,000, $1 million film here in Louisiana and in Lake Charles in particular, and had never had a film like that done to this time. So it was such a high learning curve that we wanted to do a smaller budget, less people, less traffic, less shutting down streets, so we wouldn't shell shock people. So that budget was set about $250,000. But this budget, if you don't know, the tax credit started at $300,000. I think it's $300,000 to $350,000 is where that line is at. You have to meet that benchmark first before you can actually use the tax credit. So this film that we were doing and our next couple of films that we're doing were, set at that line and above. So, I got to sit back now and see, how this is going to affect, those productions that are coming up. Right now, what they're trying to do, for the people who are not familiar with it, they're trying to cap what the above the line expenses are, I think at $1 million. Those affect some of the higher paid people. A lot of that part of that budget is where the bulk of the budget comes from for a film a lot of times. So, it's really going to affect a lot of the films that are taking place here in the state. Some of the things that they're talking about with the changes in the tax credit are warranted. It's a very expensive program that the state runs, but it does provide a lot of jobs. It's created an infrastructure here in Louisiana that can be sustained and can grow. Sometimes we grow things too fast. And when you grow things too fast, they aren't as strong, they don't survive the winters, stuff like that. So we want to maybe reel it back a little bit, just so that we can, strengthen it and make it grow. I am an advocate for some changes, maybe incentivizing living here part-time in the state. So therefore, directors and producers like myself, we can look more to actors that live and reside in the state of Louisiana and use those actors versus bringing actors in, because that's also an expense too. When we did our movie, we flew in 20 people, so that's plane tickets, hotels, and that expense is taken on by the production company. If a lot of these actors lived and worked in Louisiana, then that's part of the budget that can be cut. Another thing is, here in Lake Charles, one of the things that I want to do is I want to bring the city in being a partner in the film, in the financial gain in the movies. For instance, Mayor Roach allowed us to use certain city buildings, streets, walkways, parkways, and we weren't charged a fee for it. It was basically given to us pro bono. Well, even though we weren't charged for that, that's still an expense that we would have incurred somewhere else, and it was an expense that we saved then. So, that expense alone was close to $100,000, in expenses that we saved. So even though that wasn't a direct investment into the film in actual dollars, it was an actual savings in the film. So maybe they can tour around with some giving the state maybe a percentage, a small percentage, 1%, 2% of some of the financial gains of the film. Maybe that might offset, some of these problems that they're having with the tax credit. So things, of that nature. Maybe a higher incentive of hiring in-state people. Right now it's only 5%, it's only extra 5%, which brings your tax credit up to 35% if you hire somebody from, within Louisiana. So maybe those are some of the things that we can toy with as well.
Being that you were one of the first, obviously we've had other films of different scale done here, but being that you were coming from Los Angeles and obviously established this company, which shows an awesome connection between Louisiana and Los Angeles, how would you say your movie, if at all, differed from what the others that were bringing to our area?
I would say when you see How to Love a Geek, you're going to really feel like it represents you. A lot of times people don't want to be a part of things because they don't know what the finished product is going to be like. Me being from here, I know the people, I know the culture, so I really want to, show some of our down-home hospitality. A lot of the dialogue in the film is going to be is really recognizable to the people, who are watching the film. Some of the things we say, some of the things we believe, to see that verbalized on the big screen, is going to really, touch people. Like one line in the film, Jesse Merrill, which is one of the, the lead actors in the film, he tells Natalia one of her problems is she doesn't say goodbye and hello. Like people here, we speak to each other. We say goodbye and we say hello. That's your first problem. So, and everybody knows that, that's what we do here. So bringing people from LA, they had never experienced that type of hospitality before. So being able to see that on a big screen, I think that I capture a lot of, who we are here in Louisiana.